Hello and welcome to today's Worlds 2022 Finals preview video where we're going to cover the bot lane in its entirety. We're going to combine, the 2v2. Down in the description, there are 3 links: Twitter, Discord, YouTube memberships. Twitter, follow me there, post all my links there. Discord, I post my links there as well. Plus, we have a community that talks about League all the time. This morning, we were talking about Chovy and whether or not he has it in him to actually eventually win, or if he has, some sort of off, outside of mechanics issue that could keep him from doing so. And then lastly, YouTube memberships, $3 a month. You support me to keep the channel afloat and being able to post every day. I need to have some sort of sustainable income to pay my bills. If I can't pay my bills, this channel becomes, a situation where, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy doing it, but it's hard to do as much content as I do and also not sustain myself. And $10 a month, you get more content. That includes NFL, American football content a couple days a week. And one more league prediction, which will be my finals prediction that comes out tomorrow. Otherwise, the league predictions won't come out until January. So starting with this, we got the bot lane here. A lot on the board. The board, if you're new to the channel, is a script for me, not necessarily for you to be able to read. If you can read it, all the power to you. Otherwise, I'm kind of using it as something, a tool. If you missed yesterday's mid lane video, that got a lot less views in the previous 2 days, or the video might have sucked. Either way, if you missed it, that did go up. So let's start with this. Historically, Keria and BeryL have played 42 games against each other in the LCK and at Worlds. Keria on the losing end of that, going 17-25. Obviously, BeryL from his Damwon Kia days, and Keria from his DRX days, in addition to this past year. Guma and Deft, 8-5. Deft when he was on HLE last year, as well as the games from this year. So a lot to look at there, but we're not going to really. The Guma 8 wins are here. Guma can't be 8-5. He's got to be better than that, because 8 wins are here. There's no way Deft had a 5-0 start against him. That might be wrong. Now, we're going to look at spring first. Obviously, spring is not as impactful as summer, but there is an interesting matchup that we're going to really look at. So, game 1, Guma Keria went Samir Rakan, and Deft BeryL went Aphelios Rel. T1 obviously win this one, going 3-4-21 combined. Deft and BeryL actually would go 0-9-14. They would not get a single kill in the first round robin of spring against T1, going a combined 0-15-25. They did have a slight CS lead, but Guma and Keria would out damage Deft and BeryL, 25.6 to 22.9. What's more indicative and important, though, that we're looking at is what happened at 15 minutes. Who had the lead? Who won laning phase, right? And actually, it was a mixed bag in this one. T1, 629 gold lead, which is nice, but DRX had an 11 CS lead, 550 XP, so it was a wash. In spring overall, T1 did have a slight 0.29 CS per minute lead, which isn't much at all. We did see, actually, even in summer, it's only 0.02 for the DRX side. The lanes were very close throughout 2022. It got a lot closer in summer. Actually, one could argue it became, the pendulum swung back the other way. But game 2, Aphelios Gragas into Ziggs Rel. So Deft trying to play the Ziggs. We have heard about the Ziggs being a possible counter to Ashheimer. Both of these teams are the teams that played Ashheimer in quarters. DRX obviously drawing bans with it. Remains to be seen whether T1 bans it or not, or if they get frisky and find a counter. Like I said last week when it came to Gen.G and DRX, there's no excuse for not finding a counter yet. You've had weeks to figure it out. Now, wasting a ban at this stage on something so niche is a problem, and that hurt Gen.G in my opinion. So T1 need to figure it out. Maybe that Ziggs that DRX plays could be played if T1 pick Heimer. But when it came to damage, Deft obviously out-damaged Guma. I mean, despite being on an Aphelios, Ziggs is going to deal a ton of damage. So 38% of DRX's damage came from the bot lane in that one. T1 had the lead, 12 CS, 250 gold, that's whatever. But 12 CS is, noticeable, 400 XP. Now, the second round robin of spring was a lot closer to what we're going to see this weekend. Guma and Keria played Xayah Nautilus in the first game, and then Varus Nautilus the second game. I could see Varus Nautilus being picked this weekend. Why, you may ask? Well, it was played against Caitlyn Lux. We have seen Guma play Varus into Caitlyn all throughout the tournament. I remember him playing Champions Queue and hearing players talk about how he's playing Varus in Champions Queue into Caitlyn specifically. And other teams have tried it. Varus obviously had higher prio than most pundits would have expected at this event, for better or for worse. Fans obviously very critical of the Varus pick, but it is being picked. And in these two games with Xayah and Varus, they would go 7, 10, and 43. Deft and BeryL, so they go Aphelios, Leona, and then Caitlyn Lux go 6, 16, and 14. So obviously T1 better stats. T1 do win these games, right? So they had a 26 CS lead between the two games across the whole entire match and series. So that's not massive. Really, the farm gap is not there between these two bot lanes. Looking at damage, the damage numbers were very similar as well. In the first game of the second round robin, Xayah Nautilus deals 33.2. Aphelios Leona 32.4. Obviously, it's relative to your teams, but that is the impact of the bot lane on their team when it comes to damage. Game 2, Varus Nautilus 41%. That's a lot of damage, right? Like, crap, that's 41% is a lot. Actually, it's 2/5, which makes sense for the bot lane. If the support was dealing damage, but it's a Nautilus, so it's really not. But Caitlyn Lux 42.6 makes sense. That lane is a kill lane. It should be dealing a ton of damage. Now, what was shocking was that T1 actually won at 15 minutes. The Caitlyn Lux needs to win early and snowball and run over their opponent, and that simply did not happen. At 15 minutes, Varus Nautilus was up 38 CS in nearly 1100 XP. That's a gap. Now, we are going to get into roaming and things like that down here because I watched those games back, at least laning phases, and I do believe that BeryL is more apt to get around the rift than Keria is, at least within the box of these two teams' matchups. So, if he gets out of lane, I could see T1 getting an edge in XP, whether that's simply just by having by having pressure and being able to push the Caitlyn out. Or killing them. 4, 9, 11. They could have died during laning phase. I didn't rewatch those games. But I may, say maybe it's worth rewatching that game too of the second round robin just to see how laning phase went with Varus Nautilus versus Caitlyn Lux, because I do believe that there's a possibility that at the very least 3 of those 4 champions, the Nautilus being a little iffy, could be picked this weekend in a matchup. Now, summer, things were a lot different. So I've kind of beat the dead horse pretty much, and can't emphasize enough that I felt Guma didn't have confidence in summer. And the bot lane just did not vibe well for T1. And going into this event, they've slowly heated up throughout Worlds, and now they are back to where they were in spring. And that's indicative of the champions they picked even from early summer to late summer. So in the first round robin of summer, T1 would play Senna bot, both games, Senna TK and Senna Seraphine, going 9, 4, and 39. This was into DRX playing Kalista Amumu and Kalista Renata. So 2 bot lanes that we have seen at this event. The Amumu's kind of died off. The Amumu's probably not going to be picked. But Kalista Renata, I could 100% say I could see a Kalista Renata this weekend and nobody would be shocked, right? You wouldn't be shocked if you saw Kalista Renata this weekend. It's a viable bot lane. And they would go 7, 13, and 14. The Callista Amumu game specifically 6, 7, and 11. Now with farm, things get kind of iffy with Senna TK, obviously to Tom Kench farming. So DRX have an 82 CS advantage at the end of the game. Damage-wise, it was close, 28.1 to 28.6, so they both have similar impact. But at 15 minutes, Callista Amumu have a massive lead in game 1. 15, my nose is itching like hell. 1550 gold, that is huge. 1550 gold is a massive, massive lead. They have a massive lead. 33 farm, 908 XP. They are just gapping them at 15 minutes. So I would argue that DRX won laning phase in that in the 2v2. And you see here there's a lot of blue. Little concerning. Now, obviously, like I said, T1 are better than they were then. But I do believe that Deft and BeryL got the better end of it in laning phase between these two teams. We saw that, both teams would attempt some ganks in that one. T1 getting ganked twice and DRX getting ganked once. And they also, BeryL would roam twice on the Amumu trying to make things happen. So he's getting around. And in all 4 of these games, BeryL did go out of lane and go into top or mid and try and make something happen, which is important to note. He's trying to find timings to offset the other lanes. Obviously, with Zeus King, and he'd go top lane twice, and overall in these 4 games. And obviously, we know why, because Kingin is outmatched by Zeus. Game 2, Senna Seraphine, 6-1 and 20 versus Callista Renata. They went 1-6 and 3. Callista Renata not quite as impactful, but their one kill was a 2v2 kill in the bot lane. And that wasn't their only 2v2 kill. Like, they had quite a few. The T1 bot lane had no 2v2 kills in the laning phases of these matchups, but DRX had 4. Callista Renata with 1. Damage throughout the game, Senna Seraphine 34.4. Callista Renata obviously died way off. That's not a very, very big scaling bot lane. 22.8. So in the end, T1 do win, but at 15 minutes, there was a slight lead for DRX, 316 gold, 14 CS, 450 XP. Is that massive? No, not individually, but when you combine it all, I would say they have, a slight lead. And obviously, that has something to do with the matchup. The matchup, obviously, is a thing, but also being 2v2 killed is preventable. You can prevent that. And not only that, DRX would not gank T1, but T1 did attempt to gank onto DRX during that laning phase, and both teams would roam a bit. Guma getting around the rift, making some things happen. I think I counted 2 roams, and his ult did count as a roam for me when he ulted top lane from the bot side of the rift to try and affect that matchup. And BeryL did try and go top lane with the Renata once. Now, the second time around, T1 take a very, very different approach. So what would we say is pretty much the opposite of Senna bot? I would say a Draven lane is the complete opposite. Like you're going from a supportive AD carry to a guy that needs kills, needs gold to be relevant. They would play Draven Blitz and Draven Pike. DRX would play Senna TK and Aphelios Nautilus. T1 went 10, 8, and 32. DRX 7, 11, and 15. That game 2, Draven Pike versus Aphelios Nautilus, 9, 8, 18, 7, 7, 13 individually. So very, very close game 2. Obviously, the Draven Blitz got the better end of the stick and farm, like we said earlier. I'm not surprised that a TK gets out farmed. I mean, that's common sense. Now, this was the only matchup in summer that T1 actually had an edge at 15 minutes. They were ahead, 27 farm, makes sense against Senna TK. I had 500 XP and DRX had a very, very minute gold lead. So, really think about it, DRX dominated that Senna TK lane that T1 had, but T1 cannot do the same thing to the Senna TK lane of DRX later on in the split. The gap, 1550, 33,908. The farm is close, 27, but 500 XP. The XP difference is 1,600, and that could be Rift Herald, Drakes, things like that, but still, I believe that is something to note. Now, in damage, Draven Blitz, 28%, Senna TK, 37.7. Now, we do have to factor in that, if they got blown out, damage share is going to look really nice if, like, Kingen had no damage or Pioshik had no damage. That was the game, I think, where Pioshik went 0-5-1 on Xin Zhao, and Kingen went 0-6-1 on Camille or Gnar in top lane. Watch, it's neither one, and it's like Gangplank or something, or it's not even Gangplank. I don't know. Regardless, I think that was the game that Pioshik was really bad in, because in game 2, Juhan played. Slight lead, but 1-0-14, 0-4-2. When it came to the laning phase, DRX would attempt to gank the Draven lane once. T1 would gank twice. BeryL and Keria would each roam once. Keria getting a kill on the Blitzcrank, I believe. Then game 2, Draven Pike. That is a nasty, nasty lane, right? But going 9, 8, and 18, that's a very chaotic lane. Aphelios Nautilus, 7, 7, and 13. Damage-wise, Draven Pike, 25%. Aphelios Nautilus, 37.2. A lot more impactful. And they had 3 2v2 kills. I think maybe I was, pushing it a bit. Maybe it's just 2, but I'm pretty sure it could have been 3. I wrote 3. I think 3 2v2 kills in that matchup. I really hope I don't see another Draven at this event. Draven's the bait pick in bot lane, along with Caitlyn. Like, it's Draven and Caitlyn in bot. I think it's Victor in mid. In the jungle, I don't know. I think everything's pretty viable in the jungle, depending on who it is. But, like, carry-oriented, champions, the big carries, Draven and Caitlyn are the baits. So 3 2v2 kills for DRX. They would be ganked twice. T1 ganked once. So there's even more pressure. Owner is trying to go down there and save the day, and he can't. And also, BeryL finds the time to roam again. So they're roaming. They're making things happen. They're winning lane. That's actually a bit concerning. Now, like I said, if you don't play the Draven, I really don't believe any of these champions are being played. Well, TK might be played alongside Varus. That might be in place of that Nautilus. But outside of that, I don't expect Senna, Seraphine, Draven, Blitz, or Pike to be picked by T1 this weekend. It would be really bold. It would be extremely bold to do that. And it would take some serious gonads, and I don't believe that it would be for the best to do that. With DRX and, Deft and BeryL, Kalista Renata could see it very well. I wouldn't. I think that has a healthy chance of being picked. Kalista Mumu, not as much. Senna TK, probably not. Aphelios Nautilus, I think we could. I think we could see Aphelios Nautilus. Nautilus, I think, could just end up being picked. Regardless of whether it's good or not is irrelevant. I think that it could be a comfort pick that we see this weekend. But you see a lot of blue here. A lot of blue. So DRX were winning these lanes in summer despite losing 0-4. They blew a lot of leads. And I feel like... So I, gave DRX a lot of crap going in this event. I thought that they stunk. I thought that throughout the whole event, they were going to have problems. They've proven me wrong every step of the way. And rewatching these games back after watching them a few months ago, there were aspects of DRX's game that were like, oh, wow, they're actually beating this 2v2. Wow, they're doing this. Wow, they're doing that. Like, they're actually doing, they're doing good things. And it's a matter of putting it all together. If they can play their laning phases like they did here, DRX have a very good chance, I mean, of shocking the world this weekend. Because the way Zeka's playing, Kingan's playing great, Pioshik's playing great, and if the bot lane can play well against T1, I mean, you know, that's a thing. And if T1 do not have an answer to the Heimer Ashe, it's done. I'm sorry. You need an answer to that. You need to have something. It doesn't even have to be really, really creative. If you just think a meta bot lane can be better into it, and you know you pick it, at least have something. Don't ban it. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel. So, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube member. Like I said, mid lane came out yesterday if you missed it. So tomorrow is going to be my roundup. So we're going to go over the news from the last week in addition to previewing, you know, Saturday's finals. And then Saturday we'll have the roundup. And I'm debating whether tomorrow or Sunday to show you a video of kind of how I plan on doing the rest of November. Some early ideas for December for content. Hopefully you guys stick with me. I know with Worlds being over, you know, a lot of people might lose interest. Hopefully you guys still are interested enough in watching, you know, 15-minute videos about League every day. That would be cool. If not, that's whatever. But like I said, thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more content.